This meeting is being recorded.
Hey, great outfit. Good morning, ladies. How are you? Good morning. Hey, boy. Great
Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Lynchburg. We are glad you are here. Whoever you are, whatever your beliefs, whatever your age, and whomever you love, you are welcome here. As we work together for justice, compassion, and peace, we also acknowledge with humility that our buildings sit on Monacan land. My name is Courtney Senna. I'm the Director of Lifespan Education at this church. According to my daughter, that means I do a lot of church stuff. And that's about the best she's come up with. If you're with us for the first time, we are glad you chose to be here this morning to participate in the service for this church community we love. If you would like to receive our monthly newsletter and Friday email updates, please fill out the virtual visitor card found on our website at uulynchburg.org under Sunday services, or fill out the yellow card found in the back of the chair in front of you and place it in the offering basket during the offering. Please take note of the announcements in the bulletin, and if you are on Zoom, you can find them in the Friday e-news. Many thanks to everyone who brought snacks, made coffee, and cleaned up. It takes a community, and we appreciate those of you who stay to help clean up, even if it isn't your turn to help. 10 or 15 minutes makes a difference to the 2 or 3 folks who often clean up every week. This is another way we can care for one another. And I invite you to get into the toad spirit during social time today. We have some fried crickets for those of us who are adventurous. Please do not try them if you are allergic to shellfish or crustaceans. Nora has already tried them and gives them infinity thumbs up, so she would recommend you try them. Our sermon topic this morning was an auction item from last year. Finis had the winning bid, and after some conversation, we decided the theme Toads as Teachers would be a fun theme to explore. During the sermon time, you might want to share something you have learned from a special toad or frog in your own life. Life lessons come from so many creatures. Now I invite us to release our worries about the world and our own lives as we enter into the service by taking some slow, calming breaths.
May the light we now kindle Inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, O Spirit of life. I invite us to rise in body or spirit as we share together hymn 175. We celebrate the web of life. Hey. Did you bring a phone? You can stay up here if you want to. You want to sing with me? Y'all want to sing with me? Sure. Okay. We need all those young at heart up here to join us. Nora and Beth started the movement, and here we are. We have a fun video. Come on up.
We're going to watch a nice video about Frog and Toad this morning.
Y'all are up close so you can see my socks as we talk about frogs and toads. Hey, you want to sit in my lap? Or just sit next to me? Okay, that's nice. It's coming soon.
Frog and Toad are friends. The letter. Toad was sitting on his front porch. Frog came along and said, "What is the matter, Toad? You are looking sad." "Yes," said Toad. "This is my sad time of day. It is the time when I wait for the mail to come. It always makes me very unhappy." "Why is that?" asked Frog. "Because I never get any mail," said Toad. "Not ever?" asked Frog. "No, never," said Toad. "No one has ever sent me a letter. Every day my mailbox is empty. That is why waiting for the mail is a sad time for me." Frog and Toad sat on the porch, feeling sad together. Then Frog said, "Well, I have to go home now, Toad. There is something that I must do." Frog hurried home. He found a pencil and a piece of paper. He wrote on the paper. He put the paper in an envelope. On the envelope he wrote, "A letter for Toad." Frog ran out of his house. He saw a snail that he knew. "Snail," said Frog, "please take this letter to Toad's house and put it in his mailbox." Sure, said the snail. Right away. Then Frog ran back to Toad's house. Toad was in bed, taking a nap. Toad, said Frog, I think you should get up and wait for the mail some more. No, said Toad. I am tired of waiting for the mail. Frog looked out of the window at Toad's mailbox. The snail was not there yet. Toad, said Frog, you never know when someone may send you a letter. No, no, said Toad. I do not think anyone will ever send me a letter. Frog looked out of the window. The snail was not there yet. But Toad, said Frog, someone may send you a letter today. Don't be silly, said Toad. No one has ever sent me a letter before, and no one will send me a letter today. Frog looked out of the window. The snail was still not there. Frog, why do you keep looking out of that window? Asked Toad. Because now I'm waiting for the mail, said Frog. But there will not be any, said Toad. Oh, yes, there will, said Frog, because I have sent you a letter. Well, you have? Said Toad. What did you write in the letter? I wrote, Dear Toad, I am glad that you are my best friend. Your best friend, Frog. Oh, said Toad, that makes a very good letter. Then Frog and Toad went out onto the front porch to wait for the mail. They sat there, feeling happy together. Frog and Toad waited a long time. 4 days later, the snail got to Toad's house and gave him the letter from Frog. Toad was very pleased to have it.
Wasn't Frog a good friend? He knew his friend Toad really wanted a letter. Yeah, I'll bet y'all do nice things for your friends too. I know, he didn't know about. And it was sort of interesting to ask a snail, because snails can do the best they can, but they're not very fast, are they? No.
You should ask a cheetah.
That's very true. But I don't think that cheetahs live in Frog and Toad's neighborhood. What were you going to say, Beth?
They live there like 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, today in religious education, our classes are going to be learning about the things that their classmates love. Many of our friends brought things for show and tell today, and we're going to be talking about the things that make us happy and that we love. So I will invite Beth and Amy to be our chalice lighters today, please.
That's sweet.
Yes, you may. That would be great.
Hold on. The boys aren't here today.
I know.
The girls.
I know. We had told the boys they could do it, but they didn't.
Okay, wait, just light it, right? Just light it. Yeah, it can be UNCC next week. Let us now sing our children to their classes. all of us like getting letters. As is our custom, we take an offering of our gifts for the work within our building and in the larger community. And so I invite us to give generously, and your gifts will be gratefully received. You I receive, to you I give, together we share, from this we live. Thank you. To you I give, together we share, and from this we live. So this month we've explored several different aspects of the theme of love. Those of us in our Soul Matters small groups had a spiritual practice option to write a love letter to the unappreciated, small things in our lives that we don't think about very much. So today we celebrate one of the unappreciated creatures in our world, toads and frogs. In saying this, I realized that many of us have been enchanted with the lovable Kermit, as well as other frogs and toads. Others of us may have fallen in love with these creatures when we encountered them in woods or by the edges of lakes as children. Well, I still get excited, but anyway, I think Finis does too. These creatures are certainly worth our care and attention. So I'd like to honor two special frogs today, and I'm so glad that Finis got back into town. This is Spencer holding a toad that he found in 2020. What a lovely creature. And this is Bess, who was the Southworth's toad in 1973 in Gainesville, Florida. So today we want to honor and celebrate them. Thank you, David. Our focus on frogs and toads is a good way to celebrate our connection to and interdependence with the web of life. As we acknowledge the human causes of climate change, we know that many creatures are extremely vulnerable or now extinct. The creatures I often worry most about are beetles, lizards, and amphibians. Small and seemingly insignificant, these creatures are connected to our human well-being. So I invite us to take a couple of moments to honor the ways in which frogs and toads help us. You can tell this is a little tree frog by the little suckers on his little toes. Isn't he cute? This chart shows the many ways that humanity is dependent on frogs, sustaining healthy ecosystems, contributions they make to science, indicators of environmental change, pest control, food, roles in various cultures, contributions to medical advances. Frogs and toads contribute in so many ways to our well-being. The question for us is whether we offer care and support to each of these amazing creatures. So today, let's celebrate these creatures and commit ourselves to caring for the environments they need to survive. For in a very real sense, amphibians are, as the old saying goes, one of the canaries in the coal mine of climate change. So I just invite us to take just a moment to sit in the quiet, to think back on appreciation for these simple creatures. Spring's almost here. Time for the appearance of toads. So for a moment, remember evenings. Maybe we could hear tree frogs singing, or perhaps a bullfrog letting the world know of his presence, or the awe of watching tadpoles at the edge of a pond. Memories connect us to nature. Memories are full of life and wonder. Right now, I'm thinking of this amazing bullfrog that sang from a little pond when I would visit friends. The chorus were all different kinds of frogs who weren't nearly as loud as that bullfrog. We give thanks for all the creatures who are part of our memories of the wonder of life. It is part of our tradition to share together the.
This meeting is being recorded.
I found many more frogs than I have now. So can y'all hear on Zoom? Can you hear, or I know you can't see?
We're good.
We're good.
I can hear and see you, Terry.
Great. Hearing will be sufficient. They can draw their own pictures and share them next week during social time. So frogs and toads have always been wondrous to me. As a child, as I said, I found many more toads and frogs than I do now, as Dave talked about. As insect populations decline, creatures who could survive eating insect pests are in danger. In addition, fungus has decimated many species of frogs around the world. We learn from toads that our world is fragile and we must care for life's biodiversity. And I personally have learned about this fragility up close and personal. Close to my heart is one species of frog called the Panamanian golden frog. David, you're back. Can you show that wonderful picture? There he is. Isn't he wonderful? Here he is, life size. Can you see him? Yeah. So when I was young and in seminary, I searched out a summer ministry in an interesting place and was fortunate enough to be hired as the summer associate minister at an English-speaking church in the Panama Canal Zone. This was a year or two before the Panama Canal Treaty, and their senior minister was on a summer sabbatical. one of my amazing experiences was going to a small village in the mountains of Panama, which is the only place in the world where the Panamanian golden frog can be found or could be found. They were so tiny and venomous, like all poison dart frogs. They grow from about an inch to about maybe 2 inches to 2.5 inches for the large females. Their bright color was a good warning that if anybody wanted to eat them, they'd be dead. This was 1975, and to find one of these frogs, you just like went into the jungle and looked underneath, plants and stuff. That was their native habitat. The next trip I made to Panama was in 2005, 30 years later. And I really wanted to go see those frogs again so I could show them to my Annabelle, who was 11 at the time. What I had not realized was that in those intervening years, much of the habitat of the golden frog had disappeared as people moved into the valley. In addition to habitat loss, a fungus was killing the tiny frogs. Added to these was the collection of frogs for the pet trade. Scientists realized that these amazing creatures were disappearing. They were becoming critically endangered and would disappear if they stayed in the wild. Something had to be done immediately. What to do to save the remaining frogs that could only be found in this really tiny area of jungle? There weren't any ecological facilities in El Valle, Panama, and the local scientists knew the fungus would kill all the frogs if they didn't work fast. Time was of the essence, and they had to use the resources on hand. And there was a small mom and pop motel in the valley. So people scoured the woods, the jungle for the frogs, and scientists gathered them all up in their own motel room. By the time I visited El Valle in 2005, the small group of surviving frogs had their own building built to international zoological standards. While the frogs no longer live in the wild, zoos like the Smithsonian are breeding frogs in captivity. They still remain a critically endangered species. This experience brought home to me in a really concrete way how quickly our fragile earth and our creatures can disappear. Such destruction in such a few years. So I hold my memories, knowing that there are many wondrous creatures that disappear from the earth before humans even know they exist. They are a loud warning of the danger ahead if climate change isn't stopped. After my experience made me aware of the fragile future for many of the world's frog species, I was really happy when Finis, who loves toads and frogs as much as I do, suggested this topic. With fragile creatures endangered, it's important for us to cherish the lessons they have to teach us. Even frogs and toads, who are not as famous as Kermit, can lead us to deeper self-understanding, or at least give us some food for thought. And do remember the crickets at social time. Indeed, cultures around the world hold religious and spiritual significance for the importance of frogs, toads, and other amphibians. They certainly have been used in story and myth to teach us life lessons. One reminder they can offer is for us to find happiness where we are. Perhaps some of you have had life moments when stress was such that you might have happily contemplated changing your life with that of a smaller creature. Henry Dawson wrote this about the frog. Have you ever wished when fretting about the chilly air of spring, when the days are getting longer and the frogs begin to sing? Have you ever wished that you could just change places with the frog? Let him shoulder all your trouble and then leave you on the log. In the middle of the mill pond, nothing in the world to do. Have you wished you could change places, you be frog and frog be you? He don't fret about rainy weather. If the sun shines, he don't cry. He just takes it all together, happy wet and happy dry. An important lesson for us to enjoy every moment of our lives, no matter weather or terrain. Amphibians certainly represent the ability to adapt from one environment to another. As the poem said, happy wet and happy dry. We humans might do well to develop the gift of resilience in our own lives. Yet the reality is resilience is challenging for most of us. We don't often feel as comfortable in our own skin as our little toad friend. The terrain of our lives is much more complex. It takes a great deal of self-examination and introspection for us to find ways to traverse the diverse aspects of our lives. We struggle often to find a balance between work, home, family, friends, aging, loss, and new opportunities. We all have our own lists for what's challenging for us. Some days we manage well, and other days or years we're overwhelmed. Perhaps we feel stuck in stress overload and don't know how to get away from the stresses in our lives. When this happens in my life, I sometimes find myself reminded of the metaphor about the frog that's put in the pot of water. Now, if a frog were put in boiling water, it would jump out and save itself. But in tepid water, the frog is comfortable, just swimming around. When heat is turned on, the water temp gradually changes, just gradually enough that the frog doesn't realize it's in danger until it's too late. It perishes, though it could have escaped. There are certainly times in our own lives when we little by little adapt to stressors in our lives, stressors that might become toxic to our well-being. Often the pressure, stress, heat, if you will, is turned up gradually and we just adapt, though we know the environment is not healthy for us. You might feel trapped. However, to live healthy lives, we need to always be aware of, mindful of the stressors that impact the quality of our lives. And we need to find ways to protect ourselves, both physically, emotionally, psychologically. Only we know what our hearts, minds, and emotions need to traverse. In times of great stress, it's especially important for us to be in touch with our emotions. keeping in touch with what we're feeling, with what we need emotionally, will help keep us aware of situations and people who are toxic to us. Toads and frogs are suited to their terrain, and we need to figure out how to adapt to our terrain. Awareness of the layers of our needs, be they emotional, psychological, or physical, will help us find peace, contentment, and resilience in our lives. So our frog in the pot metaphor can be useful for us to remember who we are and what we need. There's so many stories that have been written about the importance of seeing who a person truly is rather than focusing on their external appearance. How many princes have we read about who presented themselves as frogs? I found a quote this week that offers a little different perspective on that. Rochelle Godrich wrote, "It wasn't a kiss that changed the frog, but the fact that a young girl looked beneath warts and slime and believed she saw a prince. So he became one." Sometimes we all need someone to see who we really are, to affirm our essence, to see our potential, and that support can help us become who we're really meant to be. Even more wisdom from Goodrich. Kiss a frog with your eyes wide open. If he turns into a prince, you won't miss the transformation, but if he doesn't, you won't be fooled by some wishful illusion in your head. There are frogs, there are princes, and there is illusion. Also, seek truth and reality in all things. I wonder if there are particular lessons that you've learned from toads in your life. Is there a lesson you have that you'd like to share? I remember being in Costa Rica with a group of people, and two young men who thought they knew everything were like, "Wow, I heard that you can like lick the back of a poison dart frog." "Yeah, and it makes you high." And the tour guide said, "No, it makes you dead." I'm hoping they learned their lesson. Any thoughts or lessons that some of you have learned who may love frogs and toads?
Terry.
Yes, Makana.
So where Bob and I live out here in Forest, and some of you or many of you know where we live, we have a wonderful pond. When we moved here in 2006, we discovered that each spring our pond is the site of Toad Fest, which is when all the toads come out of the woods, come down to the pond to mate. And the sound of the toads, the male toads, as they actually sing is actually beautiful. And if you have hundreds of them, it's really amazing. So I learned one, that toads sing. The next thing we learned was that toads will eat stink bugs. So for both of these things, we are grateful.
Did you ever have to have earplugs?
No. It's a wonderful sound. And anybody who would like to come out during Toad Fest, give us your name. We have no idea when Toad Fest occurs. The toads decide, but we'd be glad to let you know when we have hundreds or at least quite a few toads around the pond. Thanks.
You need to record it.
Yes, record it.
We will look forward to the announcement and send it out. There may be a parade of cars Toad Fest. Maybe Chuck's band could play. Yeah, Barb.
So in my living room, I have sliding glass doors, and a toad will come at the bottom of it, of the door, and the light shines through and the bugs go down like this, and then the toad gets the bugs. So it kind of lives in the corner of the sliding glass door. So I guess the lesson to be learned would be always move towards the light. Whatever.
That's good. That's good. Well, I think there are lots of different things, and hopefully over social time while you're snacking on crickets, you can talk about the joys of being part of the wonder of nature. I think one of the things that's important for us to remember is we all need to remain adaptable in our environment. Your frog figured out being right by the door, that's where the insects were. And I think we need to remember our friend Kermit the Frog, who offered this lesson. Be thankful for the bad things in life, for they opened your eyes to the good things you weren't paying attention to. I invite us to pay attention, to learn to navigate between physical, emotional, and spiritual aspects of life, to develop resilience so we can find joy in life and nature. I invite us now to rise in body or spirit for hymn 324.
Like we lost them again.
Interesting, huh?
Oh, well. What was that?
How are you all doing?
Yeah. Yeah. 3, 2, 4. No. Okay.
We heard some of the sermon. That was good.
We heard the sermon, yeah.
Yes, and I want to be on your frog list.
Okay, you are.
Peg, you're muted.
Okay, to unmute.
David, can you unmute Peg?
I can ask her to unmute, but I can't.
Right.
But she has to click the button that says unmute.
I don't think I've seen this song before or sung this song before.
Yeah, I haven't played it before, so.
It has very nice lyrics, very beautiful lyrics.
Yeah, because I posted them in the chat. Because apparently there's a website out there where someone has posted all of the lyrics to all of the songs in the hymnal, along with their little commentary on whether or not they like them or not. Some of them were like, "This song I don't like this song," but at least have all of the lyrics.
Was it music? Was it?
It doesn't have any music.
No,
it just
music.
has
Okay.
the lyrics.
No.
And we haven't done this one before because I don't have it. It's not in my folder of stuff, so I can't be like, "Hey, here's the I'm sure if you go on YouTube and be like, hey,
Yeah, I've sung it a number of times, actually. I'm not sure if I remember singing it in this congregation, but it's certainly very familiar. That one that we have sung before. In terms of,
And it's an English traditional melody.
yeah.
Miss Emily.
Yeah. Well, I did find. Would you all like to hear? It looks like I found a video of someone playing it on the organ. Anyone wants to?
Sure.
Yeah.
This is good. Thanks, David. Sure. Let's do that. We'll have our own closing hymn.
Yeah. So 1 second.
That's this time. 324. Well, that's what we're going. Yeah. What that first combination of old and new.
Have a very pleasant weekend.
All right.
Thanks, David. I got to sing with her. That was as good as being
Well,
in church.
thanks. Let's see. Who they were. Yeah. Let's see. It was the Union Church of San Francisco.
Wow, cool.
So thanks to them for stepping in for that last hymn.
Thank you,
And so
David.
I want to thank
Excellent.
everybody, and I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. So
Yes.
thanks to all.